Okay, so as some of you guys may know, my Theorycrafted composition series is all about figuring out what a unit needs to function at their maximum potential, even if what they need doesn't even exist yet. However, these videos will always end with what units exist to fill these roles right now, and will be followed by complete team builds with all the details. However, that will only happen after all the units required for the comp is in the game. Also, I'd like to mention that for the Abyss, it is not about having perfect synergy teams, but more about what you need on specific stages, and these videos will help you understand what you are looking for to cover the weaknesses of your main DPS or carry units, while you swap your units around in the Abyss. So, with all of that said, let's get right into the video. Now, first things first, what is Ganyu built to do? As I've mentioned before, Ganyu is twofold. She is built to be a cryo support who can enable cryo in a large AoE field, and when you use that thing on cooldown, it has a 100% uptime. Now, she is also built to be a carry due to the fact that crit damage is in her leveling. Whenever you level her up, she is gaining crit damage. So she's scaling with that. And she also has easy access to crit rate due to her talent and the fact that you could run the cryo set on her. Now, her charge shots actually charges to the second charge a lot faster with cancels than I ever expected, and this is going to give her even more carry potential. So yeah, Ganyu is very solid as a carry, but I want to analyze her weaknesses that we need to fill on her team. You see, Ganyu is going to be incapable of dodging, and she's going to move very slow while she's doing her charge shots. Now, to solve this, I know a lot of you are planning to add something like a Diona or a Zhongli to increase resistance to interruption and to cause her to be able to soak up some damage, so she'll be able to do this safely. But you do not need this. That would have been on the table if she didn't have these animation cancels. When I'm looking at the way she plays with near perfect animation cancels, I'd say that your best bet is to actually master her animation cancels in order to solve this problem, instead of adding an entire unit just for this. And you should know that by doing that, you're going to lose some synergy, and there is a problem with Diona and Zhongli, and I will talk about them at the end of this video. Let me see, it's gonna take like 1.5 to 2 seconds. I'm not that good at numbers, okay? It's gonna take about 1.5 to 2 seconds per shot from what I can see, and this should be easy to do because she is an archer and you should be playing her at a distance anyway, and there are a lot of factors in this composition that is going to allow Ganyu to easily pull off a 2-second shot whenever she needs to. Now, her next weakness is the fact that Ganyu has very low defense. I think she has the lowest defense in the entire game, and I know a shielding unit should be able to solve this. However, for reasons previously mentioned, this is also not an issue. Another point to note is that her best in slot composition is going to be a freeze composition, which shouldn't surprise anybody. So her taking 2 seconds to charge her shots and having low defense is really not a big deal because you're going to be freezing the enemies that you're focused on anyway. So yeah, there's that. And I also know that most people are overlooking the fact that the cryo debuff slows enemies down. I know, you forgot about that one, didn't you? That's why you subscribed. Now, it might not be much, but for an enemy that is traveling a fair distance towards you, that debuff can make a difference. I know it's not that much, but traveling distance is going to make that add up to about a 0.5 to a second, and that is going to shave down your charge shot time, at least the window that you have before the enemy actually hits you, if you even have an enemy coming towards you, because again, this is going to be a reasonably strong freeze comp. It might not be, I don't think this is not a perma freeze comp, but it is going to suffice. You don't need a perma freeze comp with Ganyu. There are better compositions, which is exactly what I'm talking about right here. But we'll talk about more about the compositions at the composition at the end of the video. Now, next is her damage. You see, Ganyu scales off of crit damage while she is leveling, and she also has 20% crit rate in her kit. I think that was under talent 4. Now, obviously, her being able to run freeze comps is going to mean that her damage is gonna be a little bit more on the low end. Therefore, we need to build her on a crit rate build so we could be critting all the time. And due to the new cryo set, that has become a walk in the park. With the effects of the new cryo set, her talent, and the starting 5% combined, Ganyu should be able to access a whopping free 6 to 5% crit rate when all conditions are fulfilled. and the conditions are for the enemies to be frozen and be affected by cryo, which is not going to be very difficult with her kit and the team that we're about to talk about. Now, this is an insane amount of crit rate to start with, and with reasonable artifacts, which you will be able to create when I release my artifact manipulation tutorial videos this week. And yeah, subscribe for that, please. We can hit about an extra 15% or more, and that's going to take us up to 80% crit. And obviously, that is enough crit rate. Don't I know some of you are going to try to go get the 100% crit rate, and if you can get 100% crit rate, then fine, that is great. But don't go out of your way to get that. 80% is fine, so just don't be greedy, and you can just leave it at 8, and it'll be fine. Now, another very important weakness here is that you need to understand that Ganyu's main damage is coming from the fact that she is doing area of effect damage. She is doing AoE damage. She's targeting a bunch of stuff at the same time, and that is why her numbers are coming out so insane. However, due to this, you'd think that her single target DPS damage is not going to be that impressive. However, that is actually not the case. Ganyu is certainly holding her own against single target units, and it is really insane to watch that happen, but it is still going to be a massive DPS loss, and I'm going to have to count that as a weakness. Now, single target units, you're going to have a unit on your team that you can swap into and deal massive single target burst damage on those units, but more on that at the end of the video. We're going to decide who we're going to use for that. Now, Ganyu is also all about cryo damage, meaning that she is going to need a unit who can handle enemies that are immune or resistant to cryo. So Pyro is obviously going to be the best choice. So, in summary, our strengthening plan for Ganyu is to learn her cancels, build her with a freeze composition. We're going to be using the new cryo set to take advantage of her crit boost, and we're going to need to have a strong single target burst support on her team to handle enemies who are isolated and these, cryo resistant and immune enemies. You see, these cryo resistant and immune enemies are most likely going to be the ones who survive the AoE barrages, so having a single target burst support to be the pyro unit on the team is going to be a very good idea. This also solves her problem with damage because melt is going to be possible now, which is extremely strong. And if we're going with a freeze comp, we're obviously going to need a hydro unit. So we have two stuff covered there already, hydro and pyro. Now that hydro unit should be able to enable the hydro element in a very wide AoE, and hopefully we're going to get some grouping potential. You see, I'm going to predict that there is a possibility that a hydro enabler who is capable of creating a large whirlpool like on the field that's gonna like pull enemies together and enable hydro at the same time. If we get a hydro enabler who is capable of doing that, I would like to say that that is best in slot for her. However, due to the current comp, I do think that I have a solid comp right now as it is, and even a unit like this is probably not going to compete with it. But it won't surprise me if a unit like that is in the making, and I would have liked to mention it here. So yeah, expect a AoE Hydro enabler in the near future. It is also important to note that Ganyu has a taunt on her E skill, and that taunt is actually capable of grouping enemies together because enemies are going to be attracted to it and whatnot. So Ganyu does have her own grouping capabilities, so she does not really need any more. And there is a little bit more grouping capabilities in this comp, which is what I'm going to mention in a few minutes. Now, with all that said, let's talk about resonance and team elements. We've already established that we're going to need a hydro unit on the team and a pyro burst support. Now, this is going to leave the team at cryo, being Ganyu, hydro, pyro, and one unknown resonance. Now, one unknown element. Now, for the resonance, unfortunately, the hydro resonance is just not offensive, and we really want some damage on this team. So, yeah, we're not going to go hydro, even though, so this means that our hydro unit better be able to enable hydro all by itself. Now, that's going to be the major problem with the hydro unit, as you see in a minute. Now, as for the cryo resonance, we do not need that. Our crit is already going through the roof. We do not need a cryo unit on this team. And yeah, there's that. And Ganyu funds her own ult quite well with her E skill, so we really don't need a cryo unit. And she's a carry, so on top of that, she is absorbing her own particles and she's going to be funding her own ult. Now, a pyro unit is going to be very tempting for the 25% attack boost. But something I would like you guys to keep in mind is that pyro units are going to be a problem with Ganyu as much as you'd like to run more than one of them. You see, having too much pyro going on the field is going to cause Ganyu to lose a lot of crit rate from hitting non-cryo infused enemies. And that is because the cryo units are going to be enabling cryo too much and they're going to be melting them. So stuff like Xiangling and stuff like Xin Yang or anything else that is enabling pyro consistently is going to be a problem for her. Now, speaking of cryo-infused enemies, you see, that is exactly what Ganyu wants. So you would think that running an Anemo unit here to spread cryo to the other units is going to be a good idea. But that is not a good idea. You see, Ganyu's Q has a 100% uptime and it rains those shards incredibly fast. So yeah, and not to mention all of her other skills are AoE based, so she is enabling herself perfectly. Ganyu does not need any help whatsoever to enable herself to do whatever she needs to do. She does it all on her own. Anemo out for the same reasons that Cryo is out. Now, as for Geo, no, because Geo strips the Cryo debuff from the enemies, and this is another reason why you should not run Zhongli unless they decide to change Zhongli and all the other Geo units so that Geo crystals are made without stripping the debuff from the enemies. I actually did mention that in one of my prediction videos. And speaking of my prediction videos, you know I have some expectations for the Dendro element. And having an element missing from the game is really what is holding me back from dishing out more Theorycrafted compositions. But as you can see, Dendro might work with Ganyu because I simply can't decide which element is going to be best in slot for her, and maybe Dendro is going to be that element. Maybe it is going to have some synergy with Cryo, I do not know, and yeah, maybe it will be beneficial to run a Dendro unit here. But we don't know what is going on, so I'm going to have to go with Pyro being the best choice as the game is right now. So we're going to go with Pyro, leaving us with a Cryo, Pyro, and Hydro unit on the team. Okay, so all that done, let's talk about what support roles we need to fill. Ganyu's team is going to need a healer. Now, she is the carry on her team, and these carry teams tend to switch a lot. So if you have a healer who you need to like stand in a circle or something and heal, something like Jean or Diona or Bennett, then it is fine because you're going to be switching your units a lot anyway. So it's okay if you need to swap in and out of units just to heal them. Now, she also needs a unit who can group enemies up in order to take advantage of her AoE. In order to truly take advantage of her AoE, being able to group enemies up in a venti kind of style is going to be really awesome. However, she does have that ability, like I said, on her E skill. She does have a ton, so she does have some grouping abilities. And we already have a plan to deal with isolated enemies, which is the Pyro Burst support. And that just makes grouping enemies up more of a quality of life kind of need, more than a need kind of need. But I decided to add it here anyway. Now, obviously, that is going to bring us to our Pyro Burst support, who should be able to do strong single target burst damage whenever it is needed. And lastly, a Hydro unit who can freeze enemies in a large AoE. That is literally our Hydro unit's only job. Make freeze possible all the time so we can proc those crits and keep up the crowd control. That's the only purpose of our Hydro unit, and keep that in mind because it is going to be important later. So yeah, that's it. The analysis is done, and now is the time you've all been waiting for, and it's the time I've been waiting for. Now, I don't think I've left that much room for arguments concerning this, so let us see who is capable of filling these roles. Now, our first slot to fill is going to be our Pyro Burst support. Now, this should not surprise you, but we're gonna have Klee here as best in slot. Now, Klee's charged shot is an AoE and it is quick, high burst damage. She is perfect to be triggering these melts. I don't think anyone is gonna argue with that. Now, she also brings more synergy to the table, which is I'm going to discuss that later, but she really does bring a lot of synergy to the table, as you can probably imagine. Now, for our second pyro unit, we are going to have, this should also be no surprise, we're going to have Bennett as best in slot. Now, the reason for Bennett is because of his ability to buff damage, and his E is a nice quick slash, which we're going to be using to build his Q. Now, he doesn't go crazy with enabling pyro everywhere and taking the cryo off of enemies, and that is exactly what I stated we need from our second pyro unit if we are going to run one. Now, as for the hydro unit, it's currently empty. I'm There is a little bit of a problem here because it's empty, and at the same time it's full. It's already taken. Now, the unit that comes the closest to filling the hydro unit role on this team is going to be Mona, and I don't think that one is a surprise either. I think you guys definitely saw that one coming. And you see, I can definitely dare to say that Klee and Bennett are both best in slot forever for these roles. However, Mona is simply not, because she lacks the large AoE Hydro enabling feel, which is literally the only purpose of our Hydro unit. Now, there is a very slight, how do I put it? There's a slight niche that Mona has that she can fill, and it's perfect for this team. You see, Mona can be best in slot for this team if you have some skill. You see, her E provides freeze, and she can do it at a very large distance. I mean, Mona can be, I think she has the highest range out of all the units in the game. Now, I think freeze itself lasts for like 3 seconds, right? And her E lasts for about 6. So in theory, we should be able to keep up freeze if we combine that with some charge attacks here and there. But again, this is not aiming towards being a perma-freeze comp. So I won't probably, looking at my battle rotations for this comp, I will probably never be using Mona for charge attacks, because there just won't be any time, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about that later. Now, it does have some decent AoE, her charge shot, so that is why I added that to the video. Now, her E is also a taunt, which means that she is going to have grouping potential along with Ganyu. So once again, we don't need a specific unit just to deal with shields and whatnot, because we have 2 units on the team who are taunting, and that is going to be insane. Now, the reason I say Mona may be a forever best in slot for Ganyu is that Mona plus Bennett on this specific comp creates the possibility of a small wombo combo. It's quick burst damage. Now, as free to play with my artifacts, I'm able to hit about 60,000 on a crit with a Mona Bennett combo, just the 2 of them, right? Now, you'll see why this is important in the next video. And yes, I'm saying the next video, because this comp, Ganyu, Klee, Mona, and Bennett, is solidifying itself as the strongest Ganyu carry comp. Now, even if we get the Whirlpool Hydro enabler that I talked about, the question becomes, is it worth it to lose the Mona damage potential? And how well will that Hydro unit perform with Bennett? So with a unit like that, we may end up having to replace Bennett on a team to probably fit in someone else, or maybe that unit does work with Bennett, and if the unit is capable of out DPSing Bennett, then Bennett and Mona, then is the battle rotation gonna be perfect as it is with this comp? And it is a perfect battle rotation, and that is probably the main reason why I'm saying that this comp is the strongest Ganyu carry composition, and I will tell you more about that in the next video, because like I said, once I've decided that it is going to be the god comp for the carry or the main DPS, then it's going to be a separate video by itself where I cover all the details. Now, the only problem with this comp is that there is a skill gap, and you need to know where to place your taunts and who to freeze. So yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet, we will be using Mona and Ganyu's taunt together. And yeah, I'm not kidding you guys. This comp is really powerful due to the perfect synergy and timing between all the units E's and Q's. But I will show you guys more of that in the next video. I did not expect this to be like the strongest possible comp for Ganyu, but it is. And like I said, I think I've shut down most arguments concerning this at the beginning of the analysis. So this is not going to be, I want to just say this right here, this is not going to be her only carry composition, but it is one of the best, if not the best. I think it is the best because based on my analysis, I'm seeing that this is the best composition for Ganyu, carry Ganyu. Now, let me give you guys an example. Instead of Mona, you can be using Xingqiu. Instead of Bennett, you can be using Leona. Instead of Klee, you could go something like Diluc or Shangling. But these are all great options, right? These are all great options if you're going to try to run main DPS or carry Ganyu. And I'm sure that after watching this video, you will be able to see the problem with these units and be aware of them if you plan to use Ganyu as a carry in the Abyss. So yeah, if in the Abyss you need one of these units for something, you will know exactly what you're sacrificing in order to, gain when it comes to Ganyu being a carry. Now, of course, I can go through all of these options and explain in detail why they will not work, but I am only human and there's only so much I can do when it comes to videos, so I have decided to teach you guys what you need to know to do it yourself. Hopefully the video is helping with that. So, Ganyu's ultimate carry comp is complete and that is going to be the next video. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up half-assing it and this video is gonna end up being like a hour, maybe an hour and a half long. I'm not sure. But yeah. Another thing is that, of course, with Ganyu's release, Razor's most powerful composition is also complete, so that video is going to be coming as soon as I can get to it. You see, my main priority right now is the artifact manipulation tutorials, which I will teach you how to better add and hit the substats you want on your artifacts. And I have been refining my methods from the video I uploaded 3 weeks ago concerning this, so please stick around for that. I'm really working overtime to get those out before the week is finished because I know many people are going to be upgrading artifacts for Ganyu and a lot of free-to-play players are going to be getting her somewhere around then, right? A week from now or maybe 2 weeks from now. Now, I don't want you guys to be screwing up valuable roles while I'm here creating god roles like it's nobody's business. So yeah, I'm super excited to explain the details of this composition to you guys. And it really shocked me that I found it not one, but two God comps so soon. And yeah, I think Mihoyo is paying attention and they are doing it on purpose, which obviously makes content and predictions even easier for me. So yeah, that's about it for me in this video. And as usual, don't forget, learn the game and play the cards you were dealt.